Welcome to your NerdSpace Wrap Up for the 15th of October. I'm your host, Bryan Hayes, and of course joined as every week by Chidgey and Deege. And today at NerdSpace, we ran a draft event where you drafted 2 repacks, courtesy of Bo and NerdSpace, and then 1 pack of Kaladesh, courtesy of Chidgey. So 2 packs of random stuff, and then 1 pack of a set to actually try and put a deck together. And it's great, really fun, casual little draft, 10 players. Went really well. Do you want to talk us through what you guys managed to build?
So my deck was a green-red, basically an enchantment deck. I had 2 cards that really pulled their weight, which was fun. One was Panharmonicon from Kaladesh. It was amazing. So what it says is basically triggered abilities on artifacts or creatures, you double that. So you get to do it a second time. Which, as you can imagine, with Constellation was amazing, very cool. The other one that really pulled its weight that I was not expecting is a card from Dragons of Tarkir called Ataka Pummeler. So it costs 4 and a red, and then if you pay 3 and 2 red, it gives each creature that you control Menace, which won games for me. I was really surprised by that card, but it was actually pretty awesome.
It sounds almost like you actually put some thinking into this, which is more than what I did. So I was just kind of picking things that looked cool, and I ended up with kind of a black-red, which is Rakdos colors, which was about kind of some moderate creatures attacking hard with some buff spells. Somehow turned out to be more life gain than I even realized I put in. So a bit of life gain, and then relying on a giant vehicle that was like a 10-7. I can't even remember what it's called. So yeah, my win con was a giant vehicle, which was great when someone plays Brain Maggots and takes it out of your hand.
Hello, I'm that someone. So I first picked a Whirler Rogue out of the random packs, which was a great little card from Origins where 4 mana, or 2 blue, a 2/2 brings in 2 1/1 flying Thopters with it, tap 2 artifacts, target creature becomes unblockable. So I first picked that, hoping to get some artifacts out of Kaladesh, worked out pretty well. Found a Cloud Blazer, which is the new 5 mana 2/2. When it enters, draw 2, gain 2 life. And then, of course, it said Brain Maggot. So I played an Esper sort of control, sort of mid-range, somewhere between the two of those. And it wasn't the strongest deck, but damn was it fun just trying to manipulate other people's draft decks. Because if someone's entire game plan is one big thing, and you can lock down, take...
Well, to be fair, I did not expect anyone to play proper control at all.
Both myself and Eric were on Esper control, and the funny thing was there was enough cards in there to support 2 half-decent Esper control decks. It was amazing. So other than that, of course, we had people around playing various board games and so on. And looking ahead to next event, which is November 5th. So that's 3 weeks away. Don't turn up to EVs in 2 weeks' time, or at least don't have high expectations when you do. So that event is going to be one of our more casual board game events. So, of course, you continue playing Magic and D&D and so on, but there's no scheduled event. But Chidgey and I would like to personally announce that we've decided that it's Halloween themed because it's close enough. And we're going to be running a costumes contest. We're not sure what the prize is yet, but we're hoping Deege will win it.
Yeah, we're expecting everyone to dress up. Anyone who's got a costume. If you don't have a costume, we're willing to help you get one. Even if it's like a kind of weird slave layer kind of thing where we tie you up. Yeah, we'll definitely go there.
Just like to say there is absolutely no pressure to dress up for this Halloween event. I repeat, there is no pressure to dress up for this Halloween event. And I'll be running my separate event where only people who aren't dressed up can attend.
So there you go. Deege will be running his nudist colony.
But he'll also be in ours because we intend to dress him up and drag him in.
Yeah. So that's, of course, all running joke reference to a previous episode. But seriously, we would encourage people to turn up. It would be fun.
Yeah, it would be quite fun just to have a bit of a change, and because it is quite close to Halloween, to, if you want, come in, even if it's just in with like some contacts and some vampire fangs or something like that for a bit of fun.
Just, appropriate, PG rated, keep it nice. And with that, shall we jump into a discussion topic?
So, in the vein of trying to annoy as many people as possible, I have another controversial opinion. I've recently started watching Star Trek. Just started watching The Next Generation. I haven't actually watched Star Trek before. I've seen like episodes on TV and ads for the movies and whatever. I've never actually sat down and watched the series. So just started watching, and I have been very impressed with Star Trek, I must say. I was never a Trekkie. I thought that was really lame to be a Trekkie, but I think I am now. And I want to say that Star Trek is better than Star Wars, and I say that hesitatingly because sitting right next to me, he's Chiji, and I know he's a massive Star Wars nerd. But I'm saying that Star Trek is better than Star Wars because the morality of the two is very different. So in Star Wars, it's very binary. You have the light side and the dark side, good and evil, and they're very clearly defined. And evil is about having emotions, and good is about being unattached and not having emotions. So you think about Yoda talking to Luke, and fear leads to the dark side, blah, 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 blah. In Star Trek, one of the major themes that they have through it is that question of what does it mean to be a person? In The Next Generation, they have a character named Data, and he's an android, and he's asking that question every episode. What does it mean to be a human? And the show is bringing across the idea that emotions are a good thing. Emotions are essential to what it means to be a human, which I think is a more balanced way to look at things. Star Trek doesn't have the binary good and evil. It's more lifelike in its depictions of morality. And I think it's more mature and a more developed worldview. So over to you guys. Am I getting Star Wars wrong, or have I converted you into being Trekkies yet?
So it is something to look at, the differences in the way they view humanity and good and evil, and it does come down to what's called grayscaling, how you see the world. Is that in black and white, or is there different shades of grey? How did the people who created these actually view the world? Because some people see emotions as some part good and some part evil. Like you look at anger and hatred, and most people view these as a negative thing, but then you've got compassion and mercy, which are viewed as good things. But if you just take these and separate them into two different things, a lot of the time compassion and mercy can almost be seen as emotionlessness for the majority of the time. And that's what I think is the way Star Wars saw it. Whereas Star Trek views everything in the shades of grey. There's all sorts of different ways to view the world. There's different opinions on everything. And the difference in emotions create you as a person.
And I think the way Star Wars will play it is there's a lot of characters who aren't force sensitive, or at least in canon are not yet established as force sensitive because we wait long enough and they all are. But they will be driven by strong, violent emotions and are not necessarily an inherently evil character. They only pull in the anger is corruptive when the character literally has the ability to rip apart reality around them if they get annoyed enough.
Yes, I was thinking about that myself, is a lot of the Star Wars black and whiteness is only about the Force. They don't actually talk that much about all the civilians out there, be they the rebel like troopers or the Imperial pilots. They don't talk about their emotions and how they feel. It's all about the Force sensitives.
And you get expanded universe stuff of like TIE pilots and stuff who were totally reasonable people that just happen to be doing a government job.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got all these people who are part of the Empire. They're part of this big galactic group. It's like having a look and going, they're all part of the army of Australia, but it just so happens that that government has actually been doing something dodgy and is trying to take over the world. Are they bad people for continuing doing their job and not quite noticing how bad they are?
And the other interesting argument that gets thrown around I quite like is if you look at Star Wars from the outside and pretend that it's not focused on the rebellion, sure, the Emperor is evil in the sense that he does the cackling laugh and can fire lightning out of his hands and so on, but he ended it, and you pretend he didn't start the war to get to where he was. The end result is a relatively stable universe controlled by a government that for everyone who's not on the Outer Rim, it's pretty fine. Like, unless you're looking to commit... Like, all the heroes are criminals. And when you see the moment where they're like, oh, they steal the thing and the stormtrooper chases after them, they did steal a thing. For the most part, for the average person, it's a much better life than it was in the prequel trilogy. So his actions are actually fine.
Yeah. I think one of my frustrations with Star Wars is that it doesn't take those other aspects into view. There was a recent Star Trek episode I saw where it had basically terrorism as the main subject. And it looked at it from both sides, and you could empathically feel for both sides and understand them. In Star Wars, you just get the one-side view, and it seems to me like the movies portray Empire equals evil, rebellion equals good. That's the end of the story, and I'm frustrated that they don't deal with what you're saying. And maybe in the new trilogy they will. It seems like they might.
They're going
think
a
about
little
that
more
way.
there, yeah. To be fair, in the original trilogy, they did build our Death Star, so it's a bit hard once that's been whacked in.
So it does come down to what they do. But what you're talking about, the empathy, I think you're probably right in the way they've addressed that. However, I also did notice they talked about power corrupting and the different means to cause that. If you just look at Anakin, the whole reason he ended up on the dark side was he was so desperate to not have his wife die. He was that desperate, and then unfortunately things went to hell and he ended up as a monster. But that's almost like does the ends justify the means? Do the means justify the end kind of question?
Most characters who fall down a dark side route do it for something that is arguably fair.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the main reasons that they've gone through the whole light, dark, absence of emotion to complete control by emotion kind of path, is because of the way they've decided to build that kind of, the dark side is the people who have done something bad for what they saw as a good reason, and then that's what's created this break.
Yeah. I suppose to sum up my frustration, and I'm probably in agreement with you guys, is that I love discussing the Star Wars universe, and I think there's a lot there to explore. I'm frustrated that it isn't explored. I think there are awesome arguments that you can have about things that are going on there. I'm just frustrated that the people who are creating the movies don't have the vision to actually want to go and explore that.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you, because I find a lot of the book content better than the movie content. I haven't watched a lot of these other ones like the Clone Wars and stuff that are also out, but I've always found the book content, like Darth Revan, who changes sides 10 billion times. But that's also kind of memory loss stuff. But that kind of content always kind of intrigued me a bit more than the movies did. And unfortunately, I haven't watched enough of Star Trek to get deep into it, but maybe I'll give it a go and I might end up a Trekkie.
I've only watched the J.J. Abrams films, which I think is enough to get all the hate now passed on to me. Shall we wrap up there, gentlemen?
Yeah.
All right. So that was a little discussion for you. We're running just about the time. So just to reiterate, next event, 3 weeks, November 5th, here at EV's. Someone didn't turn off their phone. And if you're still in the Halloween thing, if you want to turn up in costume, Justin and I would love it. But it should be fun. Lots of board games. Bring along anything you want to play. Magic going on. All that kind of stuff. And we hope to see you all there. And, subscribe to the podcast. I mean, we said last week it wouldn't kill you. And, maybe it did kill... Like, the people didn't seem to succeed in doing it, so maybe it did kill them.
That's why there's less people this week.
That might be explaining it. So, I guess don't subscribe to the podcast. Is probably where you want to be.
No. I think you should subscribe. It never killed me, and I subscribed on both my YouTube accounts, so...
All right. Thanks, everyone. I've been Bryan.
I've been Deege.
And I'm Gigi.
See ya.